Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07. It's Wednesday. You've hit your hump. Thanks for joining us here on O'Connor and Company. Get you going on a great day in your nation's capital. Coming up at 6:35, Carrie Sheffield. Talk about this Virginia race and specifically Abigail Spanberger, now the official Democrat nominee for governor after yesterday's primary. 7:05, Brent Sandler will join us on the latest in the Middle East. And at 8:05, Joe Concha, talking about that exciting media that we have in this country. And then at 8:35, the Attorney General of Virginia and the man who is now officially the nominee to be reelected as Attorney General, Jason Miyares. Larry O'Connor here. Julie Gunlock right over there.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Julie Gunlock. What a time to be alive.
My goodness.
You got New York politicians busted into an arrest trying to protect a suspect, manhandles law enforcement, and then gets arrested, but it's all caught on video. Democrats have a new plan now to get attention, and that is behave like morons around law enforcement so that they can get arrested. And then they get their 15 minutes of fame. Alex
and they fundraise off it.
Sure, they make money. I can't wait to see what Gavin Newsom does. They all have to one-up each other.
That's right. That's right.
We'll talk about all the insanity, how the riots continue, how the L.A. District Attorney is looking to crack down on who's financing those riots, all the ugliness in American politics. But we'd like to start with something great, something positive, something uplifting. A lot of people, and I recognize their frustration, in being engaged in American politics, they get passionate about issues, and they really go all in, and they say, this is terrible, it's harming our country, I want to fix it. And then you get involved, and you get energized, and you get activated, and you knock on doors, and you volunteer, and you donate, and you celebrate because your guy or gal won the election. And then you sit back and you look, and like 2 years later, you say, what are you doing? What's been done? This thing that got me up off my sofa, this thing that got me beyond just listening to talk radio or calling in to talk radio to actually get me to do something to get you elected, and you haven't done anything. And I know, I get it. I've been there. I've been you. I've been frustrated. For decades, I was frustrated over things like that. And it drives you nuts, and it makes you cynical. It makes you start to dive deep into conspiracy theories, that there's this one all-controlling world government, and this is really more like the Matrix, and you don't have a chance, and it doesn't matter, and it's all theater, and it's all a show. And sometimes I can even believe that when you look at how some of these things play out. And that's why we want to stop just for a minute, just hit the pause button, and reflect on something extraordinary, something remarkable, something miraculous, and something, Julie, that most of the media is not talking about today, even though yesterday this should have been headline news everywhere. It should have been stop the presses. It should have been red lights flashing. It should have been, good Lord, we have never seen an American government success like this. And I am talking about the results of Donald Trump adhering to one basic and simple promise: elect me, and I will stop the chaos at the border. And we are less than 6 months into his presidency, and it was announced yesterday that there was exactly zero. There were none. There was an absolute absence of illegal crossings on our southern border, of people who were allowed into the country or given temporary amnesty or given a temporary status with a notice to appear for a hearing. None of it. Nobody. Zero. Zero. We went from hundreds of thousands in a month to the numbers coming in for May. Zero, Julie. Zero.
Larry.
I am absolutely astounded.
I can see it. I wish you could all see Larry right now.
My arms are flailing.
he's gone full theater kid right now. But I will, Larry, literally, you're bringing a little bit of tears to my. I hate that I'm doing
because
this,
we never talk about success.
We don't, and honestly,
we only complain about what's not working. And here, this was the worst thing in our country. Trump said, "Elect me, I'll fix it."
Yes, and he did.
It's done. It's like,
it's
okay,
done.
What's the next challenge? We did this.
But I also can't help but reflect on what this country went through for 4 years under Biden, and under, don't forget, border czar Kamala. Okay.
And the lies. Well, I can't do anything unless you pass this bill.
Well, I haven't been to Europe. I mean, just the absolute absurdity of the 4 years of the Biden administration. And again, they appointed a border czar and did nothing.
Yeah.
Trump didn't do any of that nonsense. We don't need a border czar. We don't need a commission. We don't need a panel. We don't need hearings. No. We're just going to put a stop to it. And he did.
Enforce the law.
That's
as simple as it was, and everybody was screaming.
And he backed home, and
That's right.
Not once did he pull back or say, "Let's hold on a second." He just did it, and he backed his staff.
So, friend of the program, Jenny Terr, who works at the New York Post, and she's in Texas. She covers the border amongst other issues down there. She had the report. Border Patrol agents didn't release a single migrant into the U.S. last month. I read that. And I have to stop and just start laughing at what an incredible miracle this is. Border Patrol agents didn't release a single migrant into the U.S. last month, a staggering drop after the Biden administration allowed 62,000 illegal crossers in the country in May of 2024. So year to year, we've gone from 62,000 that had been encountered and then released into our country to zero.
Ugh.
Agents caught 8,725 migrants crossing illegally at the southern border last month, a 93% decrease. So I've been thinking about that. In May of 2024, they caught 117,000 trying to get in. This month, a year later, it was only 8,000. So not only by enforcing the law, do you stop people from being released under amnesty or a notice to appear or whatever, catch and release. But believe it or not, the word gets out. And suddenly, instead of 117,000 trying to cross, now you've dropped to 8,000. Now, that number's going to keep dropping too. But it's amazing how actually effective it is when you enforce the laws. All right, so that's just one part. That's not even the end of the success story and the good news about what's going on our southern border right now. And it's happening quietly. You're getting all this noise, all of this hysteria about apprehending and beginning the mass migration process of criminals and the riots in Los Angeles and other cities and all that. But very quietly, very methodically, and as you pointed out, with the full support of the White House, Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, and our Border Patrol and our ICE agents are just doing their job, doing the job we've been paying people to do. It's not like the budget has gone up or anything. We've been paying these people to do exactly what they're finally doing. We've been paying them for decades, and they haven't been doing it. They've been doing the opposite. This is your government working for you. This is your leadership actually following through and doing what you wanted them to do. And it needs to be celebrated. It needs to be screamed from the rooftops. What's kind of what we're doing right now. More success stories. Border czar Tom Homan had an unprecedented announcement yesterday that didn't get much coverage. We'll tell you about it next. 5:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
The oh-ho-hum shrug from corporate legacy media on this story is so telling, Julie Gunlock. As they've all moved on to the next shiny object, Trump's Hitler and he's got his fascist stormtroopers in the streets and they're apprehending people and separating families. Stop. First, you ignored the chaos at the border. Then when you finally couldn't ignore the pictures anymore, you actually bought hook, line, and sinker the Biden administration's lie that, there's no chaos. Everything's fine. This is going according to, which is true, by the way. It was going according to plan. They wanted to flood our country with people with foreigners and move them into cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York to up their census numbers so that they could keep their weight in the Electoral College when they got their congressional apportionments done. Okay,
Yep.
I understand something. When we do our census, we don't count U.S. citizens. We don't even count legal immigrants. We count every human being, person. Sadly, that's what the Constitution says. They should change that immediately. It should only be citizens who are counted in the census. So they count all the people. So if you flood more people in, that means you get your congressional districts. That means you get your federal money, and that means you keep your weight and power in the Electoral College when it comes to voting for president. So, yes, it was going perfectly according to plan. Now, when Trump comes in and wins the election almost entirely on the weight of fixing that problem, and he does in record time, in less than 6 months, the media doesn't cover it at all. Listen to this. This is jaw-dropping. Yesterday, in a 24-hour period, I shouldn't say yesterday. This was, it was Monday, it was the day that they tracked. Monday of this week. In a 24-hour period, Border Patrol encountered 95 illegal immigrants crossing the border. Less than 100. On our entire... that's the entire southern border.
When's the last time we had 2 digits?
From the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico, the entire
Gulf of America,
border.
Larry. Gulf of America.
Sorry. Thank you. Oh, my God. I'll never get invited to the White House now. Tom Homan posting on X, in the last 24 hours, the Border Patrol encountered a total of 95 illegal aliens across the entire southern border. That's the lowest number ever recorded. That's decades of tracking this. Compare that to the Biden administration, who surpassed at one point more than 10,000 a day. One president ago, 1 year ago, they were encountering up to 10,000 a day, and most of them were let into our country. And in a 24-hour period on Monday, it was 95 illegal immigrants. This, honestly, Trump could step down right now, and this second term would be astronomically successful in terms of promises made and promises kept. And no one talks about it.
No, this is enormously inconvenient for the Democrats. This is incredibly good news. It is what people voted for. It's what makes me and many others very proud of our vote for Trump. That's the thing. It's not that what the Democrats want now is you to sort of feel bad for your vote for Trump, to regret your vote for Trump. This is nothing but confirmation that me and many others made the right decision, and you and many others made the right decision. This is incredibly positive news, which, like you said, it means it'll be memory hold. And I mean, they won't even report on this.
Never forget the lies. Never forget the lies of Biden saying that he's done everything that he can do, and he needs more power, and he needs a new bill passed. They wanted this bill. And God, Senator Langford, who I understand is a good man, but good God, how misguided he was to
I know.
pretend like that border bill that he had somehow you can't negotiate it. But by the way, Republicans, I hope Republicans in Congress are hearing this, because they claim they negotiated in good faith with Democrats to fix the border. No, this is the fix to the border: leadership. You have the laws in place. You fix, and everyone says we have a broken immigration system. Next time a politician tells you that our immigration system is broken, just stop and say, can you explain that? What's broken about it? Be specific. What is broken about it? They can't answer it. It's just become a talking point in this town that everybody repeats. Conventional wisdom buys it. Never forget not only the success here, and celebrate it and be happy about it, that it's worked. And finally you got off the couch and you got activated and you called talk radio and you built momentum and you changed the election outcome. Your guy won, and then it got fixed. The problem got fixed.
I mean, Larry, have you ever reported something like this in your,
Nope.
what are you,
Nope.
12 years
No,
on
I've
radio?
been on the station. I'm starting my 14th year now.
14.
Never.
14 years. Yeah, and I've been in Washington. I don't want to say how long. It's a long time. I'm an old lady. It's a long time. I've never seen something like this.
Never. With no new laws.
Nope.
We have a problem. We have a problem, and if you elect me, I will immediately fix it.
Yes.
And you did, and he did, and it's over. Move on. Next challenge. Next problem. Although I shouldn't say move on. Pass that freaking reconciliation bill that has more funding for more agents and more resources so that we can continue.
I know this is a separate issue. We'll get to it later, but at the same time, he's fixing the Middle East. What?
Well, we'll talk about that next. But let's enjoy this.
I know.
I'm
just saying, like two problems that. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know about fixing. Let's not start throwing the word fixing around
stop it.
Too loosely yet. It's well, you started it. It's 5:23.
Okay, stay tuned. You're going to want to listen to this because this is more good news on sort of related to the border. No more being patient with these rioters in Portland. The Border Patrol has actually deployed troops to Portland, or rather these particular Border Patrol agents to Portland to deal with Antifa. It's a great story. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:37. It's a big day here, and we're starting it off early, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, whatever that means. What does bushy-tailed mean? Do you ever figure that out? Do you have a bushy tail? Is it okay to say that you have a bushy tail if you're bright-eyed or bushy tail? Are you going to call HR on me if I ask you about your bushy tail? What does it mean? Anyone who knows the origins, the etymology of bushy-tailed, please let us know on social media. We interact here.
We do.
On with your posts on X, if you'd like, let us know. Coming up at 6:35, Carrie Sheffield will bring her bushy tail to the table, talk about Abigail Spanberger and the dangers to women in Virginia should she get elected. 7:05, Brent Sadler, I know for a fact, has a bushy tail. We'll talk about the Middle East with Brent. 8:05, I shouldn't say no for a fact. I'm not sure. Joe Concha seems like the type with the bushy tail. He'll join us at 8:05. And then at 8:35, I'm not going to mention anything about Jason Miyares' tail because he's got law enforcement on his side in Virginia, and I don't want him coming after me. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Julie Gunlock. Julie, would you want more good news? Would you like more good news?
I'm ready.
More good news for those who have successfully made it into our country illegally under Joe Biden or previous administrations who refuse to enforce our laws robustly, as we're seeing right now. They are very disconcerted at the fact that the enforcement of immigration laws involves deportation of people in this country illegally because Los Angeles is a sanctuary city and because California is a sanctuary state. That means ICE has to go door to door, workplace to workplace, and oftentimes people who maybe haven't even committed any crimes other than crossing the border illegally, and of course whatever identity theft they've engaged in so that they could work here without documentation, well, they're getting swept up too, and that's made people very angry, and suddenly you saw very spontaneous and well-orchestrated, almost completely planned out and well-funded riots in the streets, trying to impede federal officers and creating mayhem and destruction in the city of Los Angeles and coming to a town near you. So where's the good news in all of this? Well, the good news is, again, your guy won the election in November, and that meant he also fired and replaced a lot of U.S. attorneys, including the U.S. attorney in Los Angeles. Here's the new guy. His name is Bill Esagli, and he had an announcement yesterday for the good people of Los Angeles.
The right to assemble and protest peacefully is protected by law. Unfortunately, we have seen individuals whose intentions are to cause damage and to assault law enforcement. For example, last week we arrested an individual who was charged with conspiracy to commit and aiding and abetting civil disorders. These violent agitators put peaceful demonstrators at risk.
The FBI and our federal partners will continue to investigate individuals and organizations who are knowingly funding or committing acts of violence against law enforcement, as well as the destruction of property.
We are currently tracing money to determine who is providing funding for these riots. Funding crime doesn't just affect the criminals, it also disrupts entire communities.
Those other two voices you heard were of the FBI field director, and the final voice was for the head of the IRS investigative unit in Los Angeles. In other words, they're following the money. They're following who's funding these activities, and they are going to prosecute the people funding them. And if they find out that this is crossing state lines, we're talking about racketeering, we're talking about RICO, we're talking about an all-encompassing investigation and hopefully prosecution.
So if you're listening to this, you might also wonder why fund this kind of violence, these kinds of riots? Why would an organization fund that? It is because if you ever listen to a Democrat talk about these riots, they say it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. He's creating this chaos. He's
right.
getting people so upset at his policies that they're just in it. They're people, they have jobs, they have normal lives, and then they're so upset, they're so moved that they then get violent. It is this idea that they want to then say Trump and his policies are so horrible that they're creating this kind of chaos in the country. That's the point. They want to make the average person nervous to say, wait, is this true? Are people so upset that they're actually going out there and rioting like this? Why are they so upset? That's the point.
Right. It's political. It's all political. It's 100% political. Meanwhile, the majority of people in America actually want these policies enforced. So that's more good news. And why is it important that we have the Justice Department actually doing their job and the FBI looking at these activities instead of, a conservative pro-life person praying outside an abortion clinic or maybe going to a school board meeting or going to a traditional Latin mass, but instead actually going to the people who are, tearing up our streets, tearing up our communities and setting cars on fires in the middle of the street? Well, it's important because they're incredibly dangerous people. Listen to this report out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's a local news report about a prominent leftist supporter who was very engaged in the so-called No Kings protests from last weekend.
Police, the bomb squad, and the FBI converged on the home of Kevin Krebs in Malvern Monday evening after a more extensive search of the home led to the discovery of a pipe bomb inside. Krebs was arrested Saturday in Westchester while heavily armed near a No Kings protest in the borough. The arrest was captured on video on High Street downtown. Shortly before the bomb squad and FBI showed up, a man who says Krebs is his younger brother spoke with Action News right there on the front porch.
Completely so apologetic and so sorry that everybody was triggered or people felt uncomfortable and unsafe.
According to the affidavit of probable cause, police seized a fully loaded handgun, 3 loaded handgun magazines, 6 loaded assault rifle magazines, knives, a ski mask, and gloves that Krebs was carrying at the time of his arrest. This man says his brother was in downtown Westchester in support of the protest and its message.
There you go. He had a pipe bomb, a bayonet knife, 6 loaded assault rifle magazines, 3 loaded 6-hour magazines, a 6-hour P3 920. He was looking for trouble. He was looking for which, by the way, I'm sure he would have done something horrible, and then they would have blamed, right-wing extremism or something, because that's how it ends up happening. Meanwhile, up in Portland, you remember when Antifa took over that federal courthouse?
That's right.
And Trump seemed somewhat paralyzed to do anything about it during BLM and during 2020. Not so much this time. He's just deployed ICE's or Border Patrol's SWAT team, basically, BORTAC, Border Patrol Tactical Unit. They've now been deployed to Portland to protect the ICE facility there, and they will be rounding Antifa up in Portland, and maybe Portland will finally get cleaned up. And for all my conservative friends who are like, why are we spending all this time cleaning up these red cities? Let them go to waste. Let them. No, these are human beings live in those cities, and the majority of the people who live there, even if they vote Democrat, don't deserve to live in some sort of post-apocalyptic nightmare. In fact, you get more people deciding to vote Republican by actually cleaning up their city and showing them what kind of civilization they could have than just letting it continue to fester. This is is a good move. Fairfax County next, 544.
Breaking news and the inside story on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
All right. It's not all good news. I mean, we tried to start your day with a lot of successes and a lot of good news, and the fact that things are happening based on your vote, based on your actions, based on your ability to get stuff done here through the power of your vote. It's not all good news. We've got another judge. We've got another federal judge, and they had this one in Massachusetts.
I can't believe Massachusetts.
I know, it's shocking.
Come on.
Judge has stopped a policy of the State Department. You'll never guess this one. So the State Department came in and saw that the previous administration had allowed people to falsify their passports and put fake information and untruthful information on their passports when engaging in international travel. And the Biden administration and the State Department allowed that to happen. And this Secretary of State said, no. If you're getting a U.S. passport, you have to put true, factual information on your passport, or we will not issue that passport to you. And this federal judge said, no, Marco Rubio, no Donald Trump, you're not allowed to do that. You can't compel people to tell the truth on their passport. Now, I have framed it in such a way to make it as ridiculous as it is. But, of course, the factoid on the passport that people were lying about and allowed to lie about was their sex. The Rubio State Department said, from this point forward, we're going to reverse the trend of the Biden administration. You must declare you are a male or a female, and it must match your birth certificate and the biological reality of who you are. And a federal judge said, no, you can't do that.
I mean, this is astonishing. I can't bring a water bottle through security, but this judge thinks I can say, I'm a dude.
Yeah. Go through customs.
Because remember,
what do you have to declare?
And remember, because this judge is really following sort of what the left wants to do. The feelings of these trans people, that's the most important thing. The feelings of the trans people, not security, not how girls feel in women's sports, their awards and podiums and scholarships being taken by men. Nothing matters but the feelings of the trans people. And even over security at an airport. Pretty astonishing stuff. Whew.
And by the way, the decision, if you want to call it that, was motivated by something that couldn't possibly be submitted as evidence in this hearing that led to the decision. The lawsuit said that the administration's policy is, and I'm quoting the ACLU's language, motivated by impermissible animus. How do you prove that?
What?
How do you prove it? So we're going to strike this down because we think that you don't like transgender people, and therefore that's why you're doing it. Well, first of all, that's irrelevant. Right. Whatever motivated this is absolutely irrelevant. But also, you can't prove what is the impermissible animus? How can you prove somebody has animus?
Yeah.
And that is motivating this decision. No, it's a very simple thing. You have to – it's something so logical and so basic. We have had it as part of the norms in our country since our founding. If there's a form where you have to require to identify yourself and identify your gender or your sex, you have to identify yourself based on what you actually really are. Based on conception.
I'm certainly not defending this court case, but Larry – culturally, we have gone insane in this country, or not we, but let's just, for instance, when I go to the doctor, even the pediatrician, some people, not my pediatrician, but some people will say gender on the form, on the intake form, it'll say gender, and I always cross it out and say sex. Right. And you have some doctors who will say, what do you identify as? Right. Instead of what are you? It is pretty widespread insanity. So I'm not surprised this is sort of leaked into these.
So you mess
agencies.
with the form and you change.
Oh, I always mess with the form. Yeah. Always, and everyone should mess with the form.
When I was a teenager and I would fill it in, it would have sex, and then it was a blank.
And then you'd giggle. Would you giggle?
Never after a big meal, something like that. Whenever convenient,
Good God.
Only if I'm lucky, things like that. I was a card back then.
You were funny.
I was the class clown. John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, needs to step in and do something about this. This is ridiculous.
He
One
won't.
judge in Massachusetts telling the administration that they can't require people to tell the truth, the facts about their gender and their sex on their passports. Unbelievable. 553.